All right, welcome to our Tuesday edition of our Facebook Live. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about something that it's been kind of floating around out there, especially this month. I've spent over 50 hours talking to WordPress freelancers on the phone and in other ways, but on an individual basis about the number one problem that they're having in their business, and that is closing sales or getting clients or winning new projects. That's the number one problem. And today we're going to talk about why most WordPress freelancers are not closing sales, why they're not winning clients, and while their proposals are just kind of going unnoticed or rejected. So that's really what we're going to be digging into pretty deeply today in this video. Now, if you want to be one of those people that talks to me on the phone about your business, then I am available for that. So one of the things that's awesome is if you want to talk about this stuff, like if during the course of this video, you feel like we're kind of hitting on some stuff that you're struggling with, then let's get on the phone for about 45 minutes, like an in-depth call, and go over what these issues are. And so you can go over to doublestack.net/call, and you'll see my personal schedule out there. You can pick a time that works for you, and then we can get on the phone and talk about these things. And I think that you're going to find that this particular conversation that we're about to start today is going to be really interesting, because so many people approach the whole concept of winning clients and winning proposals and closing projects in this really outdated sort of way. And it's particularly confusing for folks because this used to work for them, right? So like if you've been in the business for a while, the approaches we're about to go over tend to be things that have worked in the past, and now they're not working anymore, and so it's frustrating and confusing. And if you're new to it, then a lot of the mainstream, like conventional wisdom about how you go about landing clients and winning projects, it doesn't work anymore. And so then that's frustrating, because you're hearing people say, well, this is what you do, this is what you need to do, and then you go and do it, and then it flops, and then you get frustrated and it stinks. And instead, to kind of keep things afloat, oftentimes what people do is they'll like lower their rates, and then they feel like they're ripping themselves off, and everybody's getting a good deal but them, and they spend all this time putting these projects together, and then maybe they get $500 at the end of it, and it's just really frustrating. And so then you kind of are mad at yourself for accepting these lower rate projects, and then you have to go out and get more clients to hit your income goals, and it's this vicious cycle. So how do you break out of that? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you're here and you're watching, go ahead and say hello in the comments there. I'll try to keep an eye on that. So if you have any questions, we can go over that in this session. And if nothing else, just here's a high five. Whoop. Send me a high five back, just so I know that you're here watching, because without that, I don't know who's there. So all right, so let's dig into it. So there's basically I want to go over 3 different approaches that are like in the mainstream concepts of how to go about winning clients and talking to clients and things like that. And the first one is the tell me what you wanters, right? So like if you're one of these people that you sit down in a client meeting and you ask your client, okay, what do you want your website to do? Hey Mark, how are you doing? And then you're kind of expecting your client to come back and say how many pages they want, whether do they want a contact form, and do they need a new logo or new brand identity, or what are some websites that they like, so that you can kind of mimic certain aspects of that design on the site that you build. The kind of tell me what you want approach. And the issue with that is, here's the thing. Generally speaking, people don't know what they want, right? People don't know. Like in fact, just in general life, people don't know what they want, but they oftentimes know what they don't want. And so if you're one of these people that's kind of trying to pull out the information from your clients as to what they want, they're not going to know. And consequently, then when you begin to offer them other things, they're going to say, no, I don't want that. And so that's one of the reasons why the tell me what you want approach falls flat all the time. And it can even get worse, because a lot of people are trying to get savvy about the tell me what you want approach, and they'll make these kind of like in-depth surveys or checklists that they go over with their client. And like sometimes it's like I've talked to folks where it's like multiple pages of questions and these questionnaires and checklists to try to get out the site architecture and how many pages and what kind of functionality, and do they want this or that. And it's this really painful process, and no one really enjoys it. The client feels interrogated. And then like if you're trying to do this and you sort of feel like you're kind of beating up on the client and asking them questions that they just don't know the answers to. And then at the end of it all, everyone's exhausted, and it's just a mess. And so, the whole tell me what you want approach is not going to win the clients. And especially it's not going to win high value clients. And one of the reasons behind all of that is, in addition to everything we just said, they don't know what they want. And so they don't know how to request a high value outcome. They don't know how to, they don't know what's available to them. Or even if they did know that certain things were available, like drip campaigns or whatever, maybe they thought that they were just so far out of reach that they weren't, within the scope of what they could get. So, the whole tell me what you want approach is, it doesn't work anymore with regard to winning these clients. So here's a second thing that people will oftentimes do. They'll do the let's talk about me approach, right? And so this is the way that you can detect if this is you is like, are you the kind of person that wants to really establish your authority and your leadership and your credibility with your resume or with your portfolio? And so you begin to list, graphic design skills, responsive design skills, SEO, PHP, JavaScript, brand identity, whatever you can do, and you just start listing all the different kinds of things that you can do. And the idea is that you think, well, if you present yourself as someone who knows how to do a lot of really cool stuff, and maybe some of the things will resonate with your client, and they'll want you to do some of those things, and they'll feel like you're really highly qualified, and therefore they'll hire you. And your resume and your portfolio have won the project for you because your client wants to have stuff like the things that you're offering your other clients. And but here's the thing, that doesn't really work very well anymore if you're trying to work with small business owners, right? Like most of the people that I talk to, like most of the WordPress freelancers, including myself, when we go out to work with our clients, we're working with people that don't know anything about responsive design or any of the technical PHP and JavaScript and HTML and CSS. People don't know what those things are. And so when you begin to list all those things in from your resume to your client to establish credibility and authority, it's woo! It just goes over everyone's head. People's eyes glaze over. They get disengaged. While you're saying all these words, their mind is wandering. What do they have to do later? What's for dinner? And then, you finish talking, and then, maybe at some point after that, you can attempt to try to recover in some way and try to re-engage the client. But for the most part, the whole let's talk about me approach doesn't work anymore if you're trying to work with individual businesses, with small business owners. On the other hand, if you're trying to get a job at an agency or some sort of a large corporation where they're looking for those types of tech skills, by all means, have a nice resume, have a nice portfolio, and submit it to them. But if you're trying to market to business owners, like people that run restaurants or dentists or gyms or life coaches or people like that, those are the kinds of people you're trying to connect with, then that's the wrong approach for that, because they don't really understand what those things are, and it doesn't really speak to them. There's no really what's in it for me kind of value there for them. It's all about you. So if that's one of the approaches, then that's not really working out. Here's the third one. The third one that's really, really common is the something for everybody approach. So the something for everybody approach is no matter who the client is or what their budget is, you have something for them. So like if they have a $250 budget and that's all they've got, then maybe you can put together a 3-4 page website, just kind of, just like a brochure site. If they got $500, maybe you can do a little bit more. If they got $1,500, then, now SEO is getting involved, e-commerce, whatever. And so you have like a package for everyone. And so you begin to ask them, you just tell me what you want. And I can fit you in there, kind of like you're selling cars at CarMax. But the problem is you can't sell an online platform for business development in the same way that you sell cars at CarMax. Because here's the thing, cars at CarMax, they all do the same thing. Like you get in the car and it takes you from here to there. And really the only difference is with, how much style do you want to be riding in when you're going from here to there. Whereas when you're trying to build an online platform for folks, then they don't all do this, they don't all do the same thing. Think about all the different kinds of calls to action there could be. And, you can't genericize that across all your clients. But what happens is people do it anyway. And so they say, here's your 5-page site, or here's your 10-page site, or here's, an extra little boost with some SEO coding or whatever. And what happens is you end up delivering a site that has the same outcome for everybody, which is nothing. You end up deploying the site doesn't do anything, and it just kind of sits there feeling lonely in its little corner of the internet that nobody wants to go and visit. And And so it doesn't matter if it's the $250 package or the $500 or the $1,500, all of the sites, if you are in the mindset of having a package for everybody and then you kind of sell them that package and then move on to the next client, then all of the outcomes tend to be the same, which is there is no outcome. You just put the website online and then the client doesn't have either the technical capabilities or the time, or for whatever reason, they're not doing anything to help promote the site. You're not doing anything to help promote the site because now you're trying to sell one of your packages to somebody else and kind of repeat the cycle. And so everyone kind of goes underserved in that scenario. And consequently, it's really hard to onboard new clients if that's the kind of package that you're presenting. And so what is the common thread that kind of runs among all of these things? So what's the issue that's kind of going on? And here's what the bottom line is. Here's why you're not selling, why you're not getting winning proposals, why you're not selling websites and online packages and so forth to your clients. And that is you're not making an offer. And what I mean by that is you might be sending out proposals, but you're not the one making the offer. Your client is making the offer. So for example, if you're in the tell me what you want group, then you're kind of sitting there waiting for your client to make the offer. They're saying, I want you to do these things and I want you to do it for this price. And then you're sitting there deciding whether or not you want to do it or not. So you're whether or not you're going to accept their offer for this list of things at this particular price. If you're let's talk about me kind of group, then again, you're kind of trying to make yourself look, qualified and capable and ready to be able to accept whatever the offer is that comes across the table for you. So again, it's kind of like you're applying for a job at like a corporation or an agency where you want to accept their job offer. And you're not the one making the offer. You're trying to accept the offer. And then the third one is, the something in it for everybody. Then you kind of like right off the bat, you're just saying, make me an offer, and whatever offer you give me, I can do something with that, right? And so, in all of those scenarios that we just went over, the problem is you're not making an offer, and you're not doing anything. You're not providing anything for someone to say yes to. In fact, you're the one making the offer. And so if you want to change the way that you interact with your clients and you want to change the kinds of results that you're getting with these kinds of meetings, then you need to be the one making the offer, right? So you have to fundamentally change the way you run these meetings. You have to just shift the entire table. You have to turn it all around and put yourself into the driver's seat rather than the client. And if you want to learn how to do that, that's the kind of thing that we can talk about. That's the kind of thing that I teach at DoubleStack. That's the kind of thing we can talk about on the phone for our 45 minutes. We can kind of dig into this and see if these are some of the issues that you're experiencing. And then we can work together on making this step-by-step plan on how you fix this problem. What do you do? How do you run a client meeting without doing these three things we just talked about? Or without, how do you establish yourself as a leader and an authority with the types of clients that you're trying to work with without having to rely on your resume and your portfolio and all the wonderful skills that you've accomplished? How can you establish yourself as the leader in the context of leading your client without having to assert yourself or, without having to be forceful and assertive in that process? So that's the kind of thing that we can talk about. So if you want to talk about that sort of stuff, let's get on the phone and do it. And you can head over to doublestack.net/call. That's where my calendar is. Pick a time that works for you. And then right after that, you're going to see a little form, some questions on it, and a link to your website, a little bit of background history as to the kind of clients you work with and so forth. So that when we get on the phone, I will be ready to go. And I'll know a little bit about you. And we can really just cram that 45 minutes with as much value as we can. So if you find that you're not winning clients, or you're sending out proposals and they're just kind of getting ignored, or you go through these client meetings and you feel like you're making an offer because you're saying, I've got these packages, I'm offering these packages to you, when the reality is you're just trying to, get the client to make you an offer, and then you kind of fit them in some particular bucket, then, let's talk about how we can shift all that around and fix those issues. So absolutely, hit me up for a call. We'll get on the phone. We'll talk in detail about these things and figure it out and get you kind of pointed in the right direction and how you can fundamentally shift this stuff. In fact, check out that WordPress 3.0, WordPress Freelancing 3.0 video where I talked about how WordPress has kind of gone through these different phases, and we're kind of in the third phase now. and you can see whether or not 1.0 or 2.0 kind of applies to you, and how you can get into this new phase of high value WordPress freelancing that's going to set you apart from what everyone else is doing, because most people are still stuck in this outdated approach, which is why there's so many people out there really struggling, like the $194 Upwork project. I mean, on Upwork it says, if you're a client and you want somebody to do WordPress stuff on Upwork, you're going to expect to pay about $194 on average, and of course nobody can live on that. It's an unsustainable model, and if you feel like you're kind of either in that loop, or whenever you approach other clients just kind of out on your own, you find that they just don't want to, they don't have the budget, or they don't think they have the budget, or they don't know what, it's just all very low value stuff. Well, there's absolutely ways you can turn that around. In fact, even the other day when we were talking about the $7,700 WordPress project I sold over a Google Doc, I can walk you through those steps and how that happened, what's in that kind of a proposal, how do you do all of that stuff. So if that's the kind of stuff that you want to talk about, let's get on the phone and do it. So, and if not, then we'll be doing these Facebook Lives twice a week. We do them Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock Eastern. So thanks for showing up today. And again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. I'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the week. And I look forward to talking to you either on the phone or in our next video here on Facebook. So thanks for showing up. Here's a high five. Boop. And I'll talk to you again. And again, if you're here watching, go ahead and say something in the comments just so we know that you're here. All right, guys, thanks so much. And I'll be seeing you again soon. Take care.